horrible. For as many stories that you have people like the Anna Navarro saying, oh, it's a struggle, this kid has Down syndrome and this family is like struggling to raise him. There's the inverse side where someone's like, yes, I decided to keep my kid regardless of them having Down syndrome. I have a sibling who has Down syndrome and their joy, yes, it's some struggles, but that still makes me stronger. Like I still couldn't imagine life without this person. So there's still those positive sides of it. Like this idea, yes, I understand focusing on the negative because the negative brings more harm to us, but this is a situation where it's like, two people, two twins, you ask them, one of them drinks a lot, one of them doesn't drink at all. Why do you drink? Why don't you drink? One of them says, because my father drank a lot, so when I get stressed, I drink. And the other one says, well, my father drank a lot when he gets stressed, so when I get stressed, I never drink because I understand that could lead to something negative. So it's like the same situation, but people just want to look at it at that one way. And again, I think the key part of this is just trying to identify and understand, what are you seeing as a life? Whose life are you focused on more? And to transition to that individual that we mentioned, he had this one thing, like I shared this with you before, is this, I don't understand what this person's stance on this. And I was trying to have a conversation with them, and I have a separate post about it, Roe Vs Wade, it's not about the zygotes, trying to talk about, I'm talking about this as a life. And he was insisting that it's talking about a person, and personhood isn't there until somebody's like in their teens. And I'm like, what are you on about? But they have a certain mindset for this where they say, okay, there's a lot that gets prevented by this stupidity, besides just civilization saving abortions. This is a threat of all kinds of genetic reproductive advancement. It's also frankly horrific and outrageous if you value life and liberty. Where do you think this person is coming from on saying things like this? And I'm not going to mention the other thing they said with the ghettos. We'll discuss that a bit. But yeah, where do you think their stance is on this?
Well, again, I think it's sort of the Rothbardian argument regarding abortion, which is, one of the probably the rare areas I disagree with Rothbard on, where it basically, the fetus is an unwanted parasite, and because it's an unwanted parasite, the woman has a right to evict it from her body. Now, of course, that has obvious issues too, because like I said, I mean, when Rothbard wrote that in the 70s, we didn't understand as well what went on in the womb with like the new DNA code, when the body actually develops, all that. I feel like a lot of people echo that argument. I know Ayn Rand was pro-choice as well. I haven't heard her justifications, but I'd imagine it's probably along similar lines. Because if you notice, a lot of objectivists you engage, they'll be pro-choice, and they're very cultish regarding her. So it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the argument they're echoing.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, a lot of the people who this individual is talking about is going to be horrible in the ghettos and things. Yeah. Like, I'm not quite sure, because in the ghettos, a lot of the ghettos are in places where it's not going to change that much. People are still going to be able to get mail. A lot of these are in blue states and things like that already, so they'll still have the same access. But even people in the ghettos, I don't really think so low about them, nor do I look so low about the people who might struggle the most are people in red states, some with maybe lower IQ, more financial struggles, who have different sorts of environments, who they're in states where now it's bad. Like if you're in Alabama in some town and you're like, but there already they had the communal type of thing where I think you have a lot of people getting married and having kids a lot younger. But that's the key thing that I'm saying. Things are going to change in that landscape. Once people realize there's something different, even the people who are more flexible, riding that cock carousel that we've talked about, we know there are a certain subset of people, maybe 1 million people, who kind of use this keep a nigga baby. We're talking about different things where it's like they'll have sex with somebody, say they're pregnant, and see if this person will stay with them. And then if that person's like, I don't want to have the kid, and they leave, then some of those people are like, okay, I don't want to have this kid. They didn't manage to get this guy to stay with me, so I'm going to abort at the time. There's probably millions of people in that kind of situation. But if you have someone with that mindset who's irresponsible enough in their teens, in their early years, to just have this, like, you have a situation where there might be 1 million abortions, but doesn't mean it's 1 million women getting one abortion. You have a situation where there's like 1 million abortions, but it's like 750,000, and then you have like 500,000 of them get one abortion. Then you have like maybe another 200,000 get like, no, 400,000 get one abortion, about 100,000 get two, and then the rest of them is 250,000, it's like 3 or so. So those people are using it as an actual like birth control, like a family planning type of things.
Yeah.
Now, if that kind of cohort of person, if they're not able to actually get an abortion early, I think they will actually change their time, their mating kind of activities. But with some of them, if they actually have a kid early, that will reduce their chances of going out there and having more kids that they would, because they would not be able to sleep with the same sort of guys. It would also, there's also that aspect where it might change. It might reduce their ability to keep getting pregnant and keep having these later terms on where you're actually ending a life. So that's a different way of kind of looking at the situation that I think some people don't actually think about as well. I don't know.
Well, I was going to bring up too, because you brought up with Downs babies. I thought that was interesting because I have a family member. I won't mention who, but this person laments that he's pro-choice himself, but he laments that Downs babies are aborted because the thing is, he had a job where he dealt with some Downs adults. So because of that, he became very attached to these people, and he said, "Look, I mean, obviously they have issues and things, but they're lovely people. I can't imagine my life without them." And he was lamenting the fact that a lot of people will test to see if the babies have Downs and then abort them. But at the same time, he's pro-choice. It's a woman's choice, all this. It's not ending a life. But what I'm saying is, like, how do you square that circle in your mind? And I asked a female friend, same thing, and, like, she kind of danced around it, like, oh, it's complicated. Oh, people are torn on this. But I'm like, because on the one hand, you're acknowledging, I love these people. Their lives are precious. Their lives are valuable. But following this procedure would be ending their lives, but it's not ending a life. Like, you can't hold all those thoughts at once. And it's like, like, how do you square that circle? And, like, I try not to fight with this person too much on politics, but next time I'm just going to bring that up because it's like, it's not a consistent belief.
And people I think in general want to be consistent.
And if you're lamenting them being the Down syndrome babies being aborted, well, what about the others? Again, we can bring up cases where the woman's life is in danger, whatever, but it's like, what if it's like, okay, I have an autistic brother. What if it's an autistic kid? Should their life be ended? What if it's, Turner syndrome? Should they be? It's like, where do you draw the line of what's acceptable?
Yeah, and that's something that you'll see. Thank you for listening. This has been a clip from an actual longer recording that I'll try to leave a link to on the screen or somewhere around here where you're listening to this.
Pendants. 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 Pendants.
Peasants.
Okay. Okay.